I turned my husband into a monster and hope to turn him back into the man he once was. This is going to be a bit long, but at least it serves me to get this off my chest and ask others for advice on how to fix my marriage. It's been 7 months now since my husband discovered my affair. We are 39 years old. My husband before the discovery was quite sweet to me. He is not a perfect man, he has his faults and quirks, but I was his world, our family was his world. He worked long hours to make sure I stayed home and gave our son and daughter. He would always do sweet things to make my day, and he actually succeeded. My husband was the opposite. In high school, he was rude, charming, and obnoxious. He used to get into a lot of fights and had quite a few girlfriends. But for some reason, the summer before senior year, he wanted to talk to me. I was a pretty nerdy girl, so to speak, who was into video games, comic books, and cosplay. She was always nice to me ever since she moved to our town in 8th grade. She was different. His family was quite different, and everyone wanted to be with him. Thanks to him, I was invited to my first party. He taught me how to salsa dance, and then he fell in with the popular people, and I thought that was the end of it. But that summer he walked into the comic book store where I worked, and he spent the whole day talking to me and even walked me home. One day it turned into many, and by the end of the summer we were dating. I had the best senior year of my life. I was part of the popular group and even went to quite a few parties, but my favorite time leaves when it was just the two of us alone together. Of course, I never stopped studying. I studied a lot and forced him to study with me. We both entered the same university and got married shortly after graduating. Our son came a year and a half later and our daughter 20 months later. My husband worked hard for us through all of this. I had a hard time finding work because I had no experience. So he did odd jobs in construction, digging graves, counseling, and receptionist. He found a company that gave him an opportunity as a computer technician. My husband put on quite a bit of weight in that time, but never diminished his appetite for it. As for me, I kept my figure and maintained it quite well. And soon we looked like a cartoon couple. A fat but muscular man with a slender, fit woman. And we even wore matching costumes on Halloween to emphasize that cliché a little more. It wasn't that he didn't exercise, he just had a hard time losing body fat. However, his appetite in bed was always high. For me, it was diminishing. It wasn't that I didn't want to do it with him, I just didn't feel like it, and as the years went by, I didn't feel like favors like that either. I was always tired, the kids wore me out. Cooking and cleaning exhausted me. She would help me with the kitchen laundry and cleaning, I know. He would make sure Saturday was takeout day and Sunday was Daddy's takeout day. But I was still tired and not looking forward to anything. I loved it when we made it, but I kept giving her more, not that I did. It affected her mood the longer we went without. He would get angry and complain, and when we had that, well, I turned him into a mouse, and I hated it because I would be sore for the next week. And he kept believing even more. He would ask me to cosplay for him, and I didn't want to do it. Yet he had no problem putting on the costumes he made for comic book and video game conventions, knowing that I really hated it. Our lack of love in bed was a big problem for him. We even went to couples counseling, and our counselor said my husband was addicted to it, but he just wanted to have it with me. So I had a checkup, and according to my test it turned out that I had low estrogen. They even put me on several medications for it. But even despite this, my appetite was still quite low. The doctor was quick to tell me that he suffered from female impotence, something I thought he had invented. The affair was not planned. It wasn't romantic or something grandiose. It wasn't that it happened. I went out with my friends, we're all married. We go to the same church, and we were playing flights and having fun. It was the first time since the running of the bulls that we got together, and we had a great time. At the end of the game, all the ladies left, so instead of going home, I went to the living room so I could wait for the high to wear off. And that's where I met my romantic partner. He was in his early 20s and noticed I was reading a manga on my phone, and we started talking. I wish I could blame it on the alcohol, but it was just a little bit wrong. I wish I could blame it on loneliness, But my husband always loved me and paid a lot of attention to me. I wish I could say he had an unhappy marriage. We were happy, but we were always pretty happy. I honestly still don't know why I did it. I mean, I know how it happened. We talked for hours. Truth be told, we flirted quite a bit, and I flirted back. He walked me to my car and started me. Instead of pushing him away, I kissed him back, and we slept together in the motel next door. But I don't know why I did it. It didn't last long. At first, he tried to get me to do things with my mouth, and I refused. We just got down to it, and the truth quite unsatisfying. Halfway through, I realized what I was doing and took it off, apologized, got dressed, and left. That night, when I got home, my husband was asleep with the child on the couch, and I immediately jumped in the shower. I mourned for what I had done. I told myself that it had been a mistake and that it wouldn't happen again. When I got out of the shower, I left my husband and the kids sleeping on the couch. I went to bed, wrapped myself up, and cried myself to sleep. The next day I had to tell him the truth, but he was too scared, so I pretended it never happened. For 5 weeks I pretended nothing had happened to me, and soon I realized I was too late. I took a pregnancy test, and it came back positive. I couldn't understand how. My husband and I had several times that kind of thing, but he had had it done in the cult of mine. And I made sure that the night of the affair, that man was wearing a condom, and still, it never ended. Firmed up, and it turned out that I was pregnant. That created a very uncomfortable conversation. We came to the conclusion that the guy must have taken the condom off while I was unaware, and possibly that's when it happened. I freaked out and scheduled an abortion. I couldn't keep this child. I couldn't do that to my husband. I could not keep it a secret. I came home and prayed and calmed down by the time the children arrived. But my husband arrived early. I forced a smile when he came home. I forced a smile when he got home, but he looked at me angrily. Our doctor emailed him with a new insurance claim. He asked me who the father was. I burst into tears. He repeated himself and asked me how long the affair was going on. I was honest and told him it had been a one-time thing. I pushed him away, but he didn't believe me. So he repeated himself again, but this time he screamed and I felt like I was being pierced through my body. I told him it was the truth, and he grabbed me by the chin and scared me against the wall. It was the first time he had ever done anything like that to me. But my eyes were bloodshot and I fought back tears. He wanted to know the details we did, what it was like where we met. Then he called me a slut before he left the house. I cried and had my sister pick up my kids because I needed to be alone when he got home. I don't get home until after midnight. I met him at the door and was flirtatious because he had a black eye. His shirt was blood-stained and his fists were bruised. I asked him if he was okay, but he pushed me away and told me the blood wasn't his before going into the bathroom. He slammed the door shut. I sat by the stairs waiting for him to come out, and when he did, he glared at me and left the place again. I tried to talk to him. I wanted to know who he had fought with, but at first he ignored me. Finally, he looked at me and said, "Who do you think I fought with?" I went white, and he continued to watch TV. The next day, I went to the flights and asked around. Somehow my husband found out who the guy was, and they got into a fight. Fights on flights are almost 10 of our town unless someone gets hurt, stabbed, or killed. The sheriff doesn't bother to show up. Over the next week, he kicked me out of our room and made me sleep on the couch. I tried 2 times to sneak back into bed. The first time he yelled at me to leave, and the second time he pushed me out of bed. When I got up from the floor, I just looked at him without saying a word, but I went back to the couch and burst into tears. On the day of my abortion appointment, he told me I had better do it, and I nodded my head. I was afraid to do it alone, and she looked at me with such hatred when I asked her to come with me, and then she told me to get the fuck out. When I came back from the procedure, there were pods outside the garage, and my husband and his friends were unloading the garage into them. I asked him what was going on, and he said it was none of my business. His friends looked at him in amazement, and I went inside. A few hours later, there was a lot of hammering, so I went to see what was going on. He was turning the garage into an apartment. I tried to apologize and talk to him, but he ignored me. So, I blew up apologizing for everything, and that's what offered it. He told me he just wasn't going to waste energy on me. He told me if it were up to him, he would divorce me. But according to the many lawyers he talked to, after alimony and child support, he can't afford to live alone, so he stayed with me. The first month was awkward because it was hard to explain to the kids what was going on. I tried to invite her over for lunch, but she ignored me. She would come home, see the kids, ignore me, and go into the garage. The second month, I begged him to go to therapy, and he went, but kept quiet, only to yell at me that I was cheating on him. I had no excuse. Then came the blow and guts. I found out he had been coasting with a lot of women. I thought he was lying just to hurt me, but the look on his face said otherwise. I advised him and asked him how many, and he just simply replied that he didn't keep count, but that he had hooked up with many random women almost every 2 days. For the last 3 weeks. He needed to feel manly and wanted. He has been using websites and apps, and when the counselor told him that 2 wrongs don't make a right, he replied that it wasn't 2 wrongs. I was the one who cheated on him. I broke our vows, I lied. She got pregnant and tried to hide it. He just tried to adjust his new dating, where we pretend in a happy couple when we are out. But we are only roommates when we get home. It hurt, but for me I saw this as a way to win him back. The next month he started talking to several women in front of me, but this time I hammered and told him I wanted a divorce. He just laughed at me. He told me to move on, but that he would make sure everyone knew what had happened, that he would shout it over the hills, post it on our family Facebook pages, and put it in our annual vacation newsletter to all our friends and family. That made me that already quickly. He told me to leave. I didn't want to. We argued and argued. It felt good to get some kind of emotion from him. Somehow we ended up having wait for hours. When we finished, I was happy. I thought we were charging each other, but he told me to leave, that my usefulness had expired. I couldn't believe someone would tell me that, but I left. For a few months now, it's been like this. Every now and then we hook up, and he kicks me out as soon as it's over. He is still dating, and I know he is dating other women. However, we have been talking more, especially during counseling, but we are not healing. During one of our actions, he told the counselor that something was broken in him. When he looks at me, he feels like he has wasted years of his life and is now going through the same thing. I asked him if there was a way for us to start over, and he told me that as soon as the kids were old enough not to pay child support, he would divorce me and leave. If he is so determined to divorce me, why does he keep going to therapy every week? I am convinced that these things are just to hurt me. The other day was our anniversary, and our family hosted us at the party. He played the part of the happy husband, and John the First hated myself for what I did. I missed the way our marriage was. The way he held my hand and kissed my cheek during the party. Even the sappy speech he made, I wanted to believe it. When we got home, he put the kids to bed, and I tried to initiate intimacy, and we did, but as soon as we finished, he got up and left. I begged him to stay, but he ignored me, and I went to sleep crying. I need help. I want my husband back. I want my life back. Husband update. I'm a monster. I'm using my possible ex-wife's account to speak my mind. I was told to post here. We are not like one after her infidelity. I am still dealing with this in an unhealthy way. When my possible ex-wife sat me down and showed me her post about what she did, and I don't know if she was acting like a monster. I'm hurt, I'm angry, and she omitted her condition. My possible ex-wife has typical autism. She could listen to any tune and play it flawlessly. Just by looking at someone else, she knows their measurements and could tell me any outfit. When I first met her, I really liked her, but everyone said not to date her because she wasn't right in the head. However, I felt brought by her. I loved that she came to school every day dressed in the costumes and outfits she made. I would always talk to her about her costumes. I learned about different anime and comic book characters. It wasn't my thing, but seeing her face light up, it made me smile. I started to learn about his disease. In the 1990s, there was no internet, so I went to the library, to various clinics, and talked to a lot of people familiar with autism. So I could be with her, you know? I wanted to do the work because, at least at that time, she was worth it. My friends and family thought she was crazy. Hell, even her parents were against it. But when we started dating, she started making efforts and got better and better. We have been seeing the same counselor since we started dating, mostly for her though. Sometimes it helps me. Yes, I had to make a lot of concessions for her. And when I had a sensory situation, I did it because I loved her. To me, she was worth it. We got married a month after we finished college. She wanted a cosplay wedding, and I did it because it made her feel comfortable. We did it at least 1 to 6 times a month. Sometimes we didn't. Her mood swings and her obsessions with manga, or even her obsession with making sure our children didn't have what she had, was quite an impediment to our relationship. I wanted to have my children because of her problems and assumed to pass on her disorder. I had a vasectomy. This disturbed me for a while. I really wanted to have more children. When you're with someone with this kind of thing, it's not like what they show on TV. I watched shows like The Whole Doctor or Atypical, and they perfectly capture the disorder in a woman. However, the way her friends and family act around her is TV magic. Sorry if I'm rambling, I'm just trying to paint a picture. Yes, I am fat. I'm 5 feet 7 inches, and I've been struggling for years to lose my excess body fat. I used to be a soccer player, and in high school I was 250, all muscle. In the adventure world, I was a 228 with a belly, and all that comes with having one. The doctor told me it's harried skin, but I get a little complex when I look in the mirror. My possible ex was everything to me. She was the only thing on my mind. She didn't even want to touch me because she was the only one I wanted. The lack of this between us was the main problem for me. Doing it was basically non-existent, well, except when we had our moments. But even then, she would do it a little bit of the time, and while I was doing it, I really didn't do much. Even then, when it was over, she was done. Rounds 2 or 3 were extremely rare. I can count on 2 hands the amount of things we did. The truth is that throughout our 26 years together, we didn't do much. I tried to spice things up, tried to get her to put on cosplay costumes, but she would give me the C to death. At night, she expected me to go as late as possible and then do it, but by then I was tired. I tried to get her to go on a hike to do it in the woods, but she turned it down. I went on a Friday and waited for the kids to leave for school and tried to do it with her. But Zanako, my wife, never told me first. Eventually, she stopped showing me affection. She doesn't weigh me first. She doesn't lean on me when I'm sitting. Everything is a response. Nothing starts, and I was blind. I loved her. Yes, I expressed my problems with her. Yes, I expressed my frustration. Yes, I try to reach compromises, and yes, I can get to be a bit of a jerk when I don't carry weight, you know? But when you're the one constantly giving and the other is just taking while you give yourself to feeling guilty when you want to feel loved, it gets boring. Have I ever thought about cheating on her? Never. I've had opportunities, many actually. So when I got that email saying my wife was pregnant, I didn't take it very well. I put my hands on it because I was hurt. Yesterday to my wife, she was the love of my life, the only woman I swore loyalty to, and she cheated on me. I needed to know how many times. I believed her when she told me it had only been once. At the bowling alley, I sat at the bar for hours, talking to Salazar guy about women who hit on bonds. Some time passed, and I found him. Then I attacked him. Was it wrong? Maybe, but it made me feel good. I couldn't stand the look on his face. I went to several lawyers and was told that since she has disorders, we have 2 children together after alimony and child support. My personal income will be $750 a month, and I was told it would be more financially beneficial if I stayed married. Even an uncontested divorce without an attorney would need the same, because it would be the judge's decision, and I was told that way, my income could be $500 or so. So I converted my garage into an apartment. I treated my possible ex like crap. Was I wrong for making sure she had an abortion? For me? No. because I wanted a constant reminder of her affair all around me. I would never have looked at that child as my own. I would never father that child. To me, that would be far more hurtful to a child. A few days after her miscarriage, I unloaded Ringer, and for the first time in 26 years, I did it with another woman. I felt guilty. I had a nervous stomach. I almost ran out of the room. But the woman made me feel wanted, and I felt good. All the women I met through the apps made me feel wanted, and I actually had a pretty good time. It wasn't just doing it, what was going through my mind. It wasn't what I needed, I wanted. It was an initiation of affection. I know it might sound superficial, but when I said this during our counseling session, our counselor understood what I was saying. My possible ex would tell me that he didn't know why he was cheating on me, which confused me. I could ask him to tell me about any given day over the years that we had been together, and he would tell me every little detail about that day. And yet, this is the escape from the fucking head. I said I slept with those women to go to her, to feel like a man after she cheated on me. And I kept going because I was getting something out of those random hookups. She's not rolling me for all these years. The times my possible exile we hooked up, I didn't feel it the same as before. I was getting the feeling that she was doing it all to try to fix us up. Like she had a purpose, I felt it. She was doing it with me because she wanted to be with me. She was doing it with me to fix what she did, so I kicked her out when it was done. Every time she felt it, it's not because she wanted to be with me. He's doing it because he wants to fix our marriage. I expressed my feelings to her about it, and she was shocked. She insisted that she wanted to do it with me, that she wanted us to do the same ones again. And I told her that even if we started over, it would never be the same. So I started to look at our therapist. Most of all, he helped me get over this trauma, because an affair is traumatic. It affects you deeply, and it makes you feel empty. It makes you feel that all the time you spent together was for absolutely nothing. All the sacrifices were a joke at your expense, at first, and my children were tested to make sure they were mine. I really couldn't believe anything that came out of my mouth or from my possible ex-wife. She tried to get Argira to give it in front of the no to the sadist, so she could prove to me that she had never cheated on me and had no intention of doing so. However, I told him it would make no difference. I deleted my apps and have done nothing for 2 months. 3 weeks ago, my possible success, we had our affairs again. It was our 21st wedding anniversary. However, when we were doing it, I realized she was doing it out of obligation because it was our anniversary. And I left as soon as I was done. I told her ad nauseum what I need, and it still doesn't work. So I told her that if she really wants to fix this, she needs to tell her parents what happened. I won't tell my friends or family. They will convince me to leave her, I'm sure. As much as they like her, they have always had problems with her disorder. Her parents, however, would keep her between us, and they can help them, and I still decide to leave her. My oldest son is 11, and my second son just turned 10. Unless I get a big raise, I'll be here for the next 8 years. That's a long time under one roof to guide someone. Would you forgive her? I don't know, but I'll never forget it. I can honestly say I don't see her the same way. I don't see that woman anymore, that I would do anything to make her happy. I don't see my wife anymore. I see a woman who broke my heart. They say time heals all wounds, but it's going to be a long time before mine starts to heal, a long time. Update from wife. It's been 3 months, and it's been rough. Slow and steady would be the best way to put it. My husband and I told my parents shortly after his. We visited them and sat with them, and they were angry with my husband. They were mad at him because I had told him something like this would happen. Because of my upset. I was extremely credulous and very suggestible. If he treated me normally, it was going to bite him in the ass, and my affair proved it to them. This infuriated him so much that he yelled at my parents. It was the first time I had ever yelled at them. What a nice sensory outburst during this. I remembered that I went with that man. However, I was more worried about my husband. He basically broke down while my parents were screaming. He cried for the first time since all of this, and I cried the pain and anxiety I was having to comfort him. seeing me do that, and I'm crying to my parents, and he excused himself, but I went along with it. When we talked again, I told him everything, how he approached me and the conversation we were having about Bobby and Slay. That I was just there, I hope I didn't get over the slump I had, but that we were doing nothing but talking about one manga after another. And when I told him I had to go, he insisted on walking me to the car. When he kissed me, I just let it happen. I didn't want the stranger to be mad at me, and I had no excuse. What that was wrong. It was stupid. It was rational and just plain selfish. I kept talking, and that was listening to him. I could see it in his eyes. He was very angry, but he refrained from saying or doing anything. He just listened. A week went by and he started going to a support group of betrayed spouses, 2 pesos a week in Alado City. I didn't know such a group existed, but he showed me the site and community center. I even went for a meeting with him. Hearing his pain was devastating. Then to hear from other men like him, it was overwhelming. The magnitude of the situation was overwhelming. In the past month, he was behaving better and even came home. We were not back to normal. We were far from it. But we were finding a new equilibrium. He even surprised me with a dinner date 2 weeks ago. Everything was going great. We were talking and laughing. I took a moment. I saw it. I felt it. Then, he showed up at our waiter, and it was the man I slept with. In a split second, my husband went from a sweet man to a rampaging beast, and he hit that man. I clutched my head and cried from the screaming. It was too much for me. He put the noise-canceling headphones in my ears, and I walked me out. I was crying. I thought I was going to be arrested. We had reservations, but the police never came to our house. Since then, he has turned the garage. He has been going to the support group 2x a week and seeing his therapist, and in our counselor as well. He is struggling a lot and wishes he could undo it all. He has missed us. Spider jumps, spider jumps. Hey, you tall? Whoa, handsome. What do you think you're doing? Like the video, comment a comment in the comment box, and subscribe to the channel if you liked this video. I'll leave this one here to let you know. See you next time, and remember, I say hello to your neighbor, Spider Chips.